For the longest time, society has kind of pushed this idea that being single is, well, a problem that needs fixing, a temporary bug in the system. But what if that's just not true? In this explainer, we're going to flip that idea on its head and look at the psychology of being single long-term, not as some kind of failure, but as a really deliberate and powerful choice.
I mean, really think about it. It's a question a lot of us have probably heard or maybe even asked ourselves. The pressure to couple up is, well, it's everywhere you look. But today, we're going to challenge that entire idea. What if the answer to this question is just a simple, straightforward no?
Okay, this quote right here, this is the core of everything we're talking about. It completely flips the script. It suggests that choosing to be on your own isn't about being weak or unwanted. It's actually about having this deep internal strength and a really high level of self-knowledge. So let's dive in and unpack what that actually looks like. And that brings us to our first big idea, the art of solitude. Now, this isn't about being lonely, not at all. It's about looking at solitude as something you consciously build into your life. It's seeing the choice to be single as an active, powerful decision you make, not just something that happens to you because you couldn't find a partner. So here's the term we're going to be using, selective solitude. And I love that phrase, architectural choice, because it implies you're designing something with intention, with a real structure. Someone who's doing this isn't building a giant wall to keep love out. They're building a sanctuary for their own peace, and they're being incredibly careful about who and what they let in.
And this really gets to the heart of the motivation. It's such a simple but, wow, profound difference. The goal isn't to push love away. The goal is to pull peace closer. So if a new connection is going to disrupt that inner peace or it just feels hollow, then the price is just too high to pay.
Okay, so this whole thing really boils down to a central conflict, a fork in the road, when it comes to how we connect with other people. There are basically two totally different mindsets, and understanding this difference is pretty much the key to unlocking the whole psychology we're exploring.
So, on one side, you've got what we can call forced belonging. This is totally driven by a fear of being alone, which can lead you to accept connections that are honestly pretty empty, just so you're not by yourself. And the result? It just drains your inner peace. But then, on the other side, you've got selective connection. This mindset is all about seeking out meaningful bonds and seeing solitude as not just okay, but sometimes totally necessary. The number one priority here is protecting that inner peace, even if it means being alone for a while. So let's get into why choosing this path, this selective connection, is actually a huge sign of strength. I mean, think about it. It takes a ton of self-awareness and real personal conviction to swim against the current like that and prioritize your own internal well-being over what everyone else expects of you.
And people who live this way, they tend to have a few key things in common. They've got high self-awareness, they really know themselves, what fills them up and what drains them. They are fiercely protective of their peace. They have strong personal standards for who gets their time and energy. And maybe most importantly, they absolutely refuse to settle for empty connections just so they have someone, anyone, around.
And really, it all comes down to this. You know how people sometimes dismiss someone for having high standards? They say you're being too picky or you're just avoiding love. But from this point of view, high standards aren't about that at all. They're actually a reflection of high self-worth. It's about valuing yourself, your time, and your inner peace enough to wait for a connection that actually adds to your life, instead of taking something away. All right, so after laying all of that out, after exploring this whole framework of selective solitude, it kind of feels like the right time to turn the question inward and do a little reflection on our own lives, right? On our own experiences with being single and connecting with others.
And this is the question I want to leave you with. Look, there is no right or wrong answer here, not even close. But just understanding the why behind where you are. Is it a conscious, architectural choice, or is it more of a temporary circumstance? Well, that can tell you an awful lot about the relationship you have with yourself. It's a pretty powerful thought for just about anyone to sit with.